Canoopsy here, and this is the Sony Xperia X Performance. Sony sort of killed off its Z lineup and brought along a new X lineup, and this phone right here is sort of their flagship front-runner smartphone. But for around $700, is it worth it? Let's check it out. First, the design is moderately different but still very similar to past Xperia phones. The back cover is brushed metal and has a purple-like tint, but the edges are very plasticky feeling, making the phone very slippery to hold. On the side, you'll find the camera shutter button, the volume marker which is still too low for human hands. Sony, what are you thinking? And the super cool fingerprint scanner power button is much improved from the Z5 with more tactility and quicker response, unless you're in the US, then fingerprint scanner. The front of the phone has a layer of curved glass that blends into the back of the phone, giving a nice seamless overall look. The front of the phone has a set of dual front-facing speakers which sound great and are an awesome feature to have. A selling point for past Sony phones is that they're water resistant, and the resistance is still here too. Although it doesn't seem to be as extremely advertised by Sony ever since the controversy with its past marketing. This somewhat false advertising led customers to think it was a completely waterproof phone, resulting in water damage for many. The display is much improved from the Z5. It's 5 inches, 1080p, LCD, and uses some of Sony's well-known display tech. It's vibrant, fairly sharp, bright, and viewing angles are finally great for a Sony phone. Contrast isn't the greatest, but still looks good. You should be pretty much completely impressed here. Under the hood, this phone has the latest and greatest specifications as you'd expect for a flagship, but unfortunately only 3GB of RAM while the competition has 4GB or more. With these specs, you do get good performance and is speedy like other flagships, but performance is not really a key feature of the X Performance for now. The phone tends to overheat very easily and mainly with the camera. During my testing, I've had the phone get really warm when shooting both pictures and videos and eventually lock up. This may be fixed eventually with a software update, but for now, it's a massive negative. With a 2700 mAh battery life is somewhat disappointing. Sony says the phone has 2 days of battery life, but I've only been able to get about 1 day or sometimes a day and a half. These are normal days at home using Wi-Fi, browsing the web, watching a few videos, playing some games, taking some pictures, and using social media. It's nothing too major. It may just be my usage or my unit, but for me, battery life isn't the greatest. But this may also be fixable with a software update. It fast charges through micro USB and takes about an hour and a half for a full charge, but kinda wish it was USB-C. Now, software has always been kind of a strong point for Sony phones, and it's Android 6.0.1 with Sony skin on top. It's good overall with some theming features, app suggestions, and pretty good looking icons. You do also get audio enhancement features too for your headphones. The look of the software is very nice and has a stock-like overall look. The only negative being is that it has tons of bloatware that you can't delete but can only disable. Fresh and brand new out of the box, I had 13GB out of 32GB already used up by stuff on the phone. But besides that, I like the software a lot. It looks good and has many useful features. Lastly, the cameras. Sony makes cameras for plenty of phones and they have their own great DSLRs too. First, the selfie camera is great. With 13 megapixels of resolution, selfies look f***ing awesome. The main camera is 23 megapixels, so when you zoom in, there's plenty of detail. Shots almost always look pretty good, except sometimes they're a bit muddy or grainy, but the main issue here is autofocus. For example, I tap one side of the screen and it focuses on the absolute other side of the screen, so it kind of feels like you're fighting it. It usually works perfectly, but when it doesn't, you get plenty of blurry photos. Video recording tops out at 1080p at 60 FPS, so no 4K here, and the video looks quite nice and has good natural stabilization sometimes. Also, there's no real manual mode unless you count white balance as enough, and the shutter button is good for launching the camera, but not great when you're taking a shot with one hand. To conclude, the Sony Xperia X Performance is a good overall phone. Yes, it has a few issues, but those can likely be fixed with a software update if Sony decides to fix them. It has a lot of good things going for it too, like a microSD card slot, water resistance, a good set of cameras most of the time, and dual front-facing speakers. But still, for that price of $700, I can't really say that it's worth it. Basically, what I'm trying to say is, if you're sold on this phone, you'll enjoy it, but if not, there's plenty of other great phones in the market right now. And that's it. Like the video if you liked it, comment down below what you think of the Sony Xperia X Performance, and subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for watching.